Today, we're talking dart frog eggs to tadpoles. We will get into how I care for the eggs later, but right now, I can see that there's a tadpole ready to be moved out to a petri dish. If you look in the back corner here, we can see there's a tadpole that's no longer in its sack, and we can see this because its tail is straight. It's also moving around, which is another indicator that it's ready to be moved. I always keep deli cups ready to go that's made with tadpole tea. We'll get into that later. I start by picking up the petri dish, and I always keep a clean plastic spoon nearby. I make sure there's enough water in the petri dish so the tadpole could swim just a little. Now I try to scoop up the tadpole. Once I get the spoon under it, it would normally hop in just like it would hop onto its own parent's back. Then I move the tadpole to the deli cup very slowly. I always add in 1 pellet of food at this point, even though I probably won't eat for a few days or even a week. I just do it. I then write the date and the kind of frog on the deli cup. I will make another video at a later date to show how I care for the tadpoles, but for now, let's talk about how I make the tadpole tea. When I know I have some tadpoles that are almost ready for deli cups, I make a few of these ahead of time, just so they're ready. I put in a piece of Indian almond leaf and a small piece of tadpole moss. Most people use Java moss. Then I pour RO water into the cup, and that's it. In just a few days, it will tan out. You could still place the tadpole in the cup if you just made it and it's not tanned out yet. That's just fine. A lot of people use tap water here, or they use treated RO water, but I have found that I have better success with my RO water. That's what works best for me. It's kind of up to you how you want to do it. Now I know we're getting a little out of order here, but it appears that my cobalts have some eggs that are ready. So let's go over how I care for the eggs. First and foremost, I love these little tadpole things. I don't really know what they're called. I think they're called tadpole, something like that. Anyway, my frogs love them, and they are constantly producing eggs in them. I almost never get eggs in the huts anymore, even though I do clean the huts out. I do still find eggs once in a while in the bromeliads from time to time, but mostly they're laying their eggs in these tadpoles. They just love them. They also have these little sleeves, so all I have to do is remove the sleeve and replace it with a new one. I then take my spoon from before, which I always clean off, and slowly, and I mean really slowly is the key here, I scoop out the eggs into the petri dish. This takes some practice, and it's important that the top of the eggs stay on the top, like the top end up. After some practice, you will easily know what end is up and what end is down. So if you get it wrong, you'll be able to see from the eggs, oh, this is upside down, let me quickly flip them. Once I get all the eggs into the petri dish, I use my turkey baster and I add the RO water so that the water is just touching the end of the eggs. Now I check this every day and I add water if needed so they don't dry out. Now once the eggs are tadpoles, I add a little more water so when they are ready to break out of the sack, they can swim a little bit. They can just kind of swim around a little bit. It also kind of entices them to break out of the sack if there's a little bit more water in there. And obviously having more water makes it easier to scoop them out later. You probably noticed that I label all the petri dishes with numbers. This is how I track the date and what kind of frog is in the petri dish. And I do this on a separate piece of paper. It's pretty easy to do. All that's left to do is to place the petri dish into the Tupperware. And I do this so it keeps the humidity up. I used to keep a moist paper towel on the bottom, but I no longer wet it. I just leave it there for easy cleanup. It's probably time to change this out as it's kind of looking disgusting. And that's it. That's how I care for dart frog eggs. Now just remember that, it's going to take, some time for the eggs to turn into tadpoles. And there are going to be some that, don't make it. And I know some people clean out the eggs that kind of like mold over because they're no good. I typically don't because I don't want to disturb the other eggs in there. But that's up to you. Anyway, well, this is my process, so feel free to ask any questions in the comments and I'll get back to you.